In Tiruvarur, the Chola kingdom, there was a pious Bhakta by the name Dandi Adigal. He was born blind, but he always repeated the Panchaksharam Om Namah Shivaya and visualized the Lord with his inner eyes. He used to go to the temple daily and worship the Lord in Tiruvarur. There was a tank on the western side of the temple which was surrounded by Jain dwellings. Dandi Digal wanted to extend the area of the tank, but how could a man who's born blind do it? But he had the determination and complete faith on Lord Shiva. He decided to do it. He erected a post inside the tank where it was to be dug and tied a rope to it. The other end of the rope was tied to the other post, which was fixed on the bank. Then, guided by the rope, he would go to there where the digging had been done. He would dig with a spade, collect the earth in a basket, and again, with the help of the rope, he would go to the bank and throw the earth away. The Jains were watching the blind man with miracle. They were extremely jealous of his achievement. So they wanted to disturb his faith. They put forward a cunning argument. You are blind and you cannot see. While digging, you are killing so many insects, which is a great sin. And he needs to give up this foolish act. The Nayanar explained to them the sacredness of his work, which was highly pleasing to the Lord, and also that by his grace he was sure that not even a single insect would be injured. He went on to do his work. The Jain found this behavior to be insulting. They started saying, you were born blind, but now you are deaf too. Even though we have given you a great counsel, you are not listening to us. Nayanar further replied, O ignorant people, what do you know of the Lord's glories? To me, he is a sole refuge. I live only to serve him. Do not mock at his grace. By his grace, I have regained eyesight and you lost yours. What will you do then? This reply annoyed them. They snatched the spade and the basket from his hands. With a broken heart, Dandi Adigal went to the temple and expressed his grievance to the Lord. The Lord appeared in his dream that night and assured to him that he will render all the possible support and help for him. He also appeared before the king in his dream and asked him to address the grievance of the Nayanar. The king summoned the Jains. Dandi Adigal was also there. The king addressed Dandi. O devotee, you said by the grace of God that you will get your eyesight back and the Jains would lose theirs. Prove that. Dandi Adigal said, Lord Shiva is my real God. He is my sole refuge and he is my protector. I am only a slave. If that is extremely true of what I believe in, let me regain the eyesight and let the Jains lose theirs. He then uttered the word Om Namah Shivaya or the Panchakshara and went to the temple. When he came out, his eyesight has been restored, and at the same time, all the Jains lost their eyesight. All were amazed of this. The king banished the Jains from his kingdom and restores people faith on the Lord. Dandi Adigal also attained self-realization. Murkha Nayanar. This saint was a Velala by caste and he belonged to Thiruvarkad in Tondainadu. He was a great devotee of Lord Shiva and was doing Maheshwara Puja regularly by feeding his bhaktas at any cost. He spent all his wealth in feeding the bhaktas of Lord Shiva, and he resorted in a very strange way. He used to gamble and use that money for feeding Shiva bhaktas. He went away from his village in search of gamblers. He would not spare anyone. If somebody refused to gamble with him, he would resort to violence. So the name Murkha Adigalar, which means wicked Nayanar in a way. But he would never utilize the money for his own expense. It was all for Shiva Bhaktas. So the Lord showered his blessings on him. This was extraordinary illustration of the nature of supreme devotion or Parama Bhakti. The devotee knew nothing but God and is actually oblivious of the world and its manners. He lives in God, for God, and he is God. At such a stage, God himself takes charge in him. The completeness of the surrender is severely tested before this. It is the extreme difficulty of this path that made sage Narada exclaim that even a saint should not violate the canons of mortality. Hence, so long as you are aware of your own individuality, stick to the code of right conduct. Do not foolishly imitate the sages who dwell in the place of consciousness to which you are a complete stranger. Somasira Nayanar. Somasira Nayanar was a Brahmin by caste. He lived in Tiruvambur. He was also a great devotee of Lord Shiva and to his devotees, irrespective of their caste. He did yajnas and worshipped the Lord without expecting any reward. He went to Tiruvarur and lived with Sundaramurti Nayanar, to whom he had totally surrendered himself. Thus he got his grace. On the face of it, it doesn't seem to be anything very spectacular about this Nayanar, but you have to bear in mind the conditions that prevailed in South India during the days of the Nayanar. It was almost impossible for a Brahmin in those days to mix with people from other caste. However, devoted they may be to God, for a Brahmin to serve them was unthinkable difficult. It required a very, very great willpower, determination, and devotion to the God and his bhaktas. Again, in those days, no one would even think of performing an yajna without expectation of a reward. Yajnas were performed with certain selfish, desired reasons. This Nayanar was extremely selfless and desireless. That shows him the true bhakti, and he was a great jnani and a karma yogi. Over and above all these, he was highly devoted to his guru, Sundaramurti Nayanar. Sakkiya Nayanar. This saint was a Velala from Tiruchengamangai. He was totally disgusted with the worldly life and wanted to attain liberation. He sought the best way to do this. Due to a false propaganda, he fell victim to Buddhistic influences. He became a Buddha bhikshu, but that did not satisfy him for a long. He was once attracted to Saivism and was convinced that whatever be the external appearance or conduct of one, if he had the intense devotion to the Lord, he would attain liberation. Though he did not give his external appearance as a Buddha bhikshu, he adorned Lord Shiva. One day he was sitting in an open Shiva temple and meditating on the lingam, completely absorbed in the divine bliss. He forgetfully threw a stone at the lingam. On the next day, he went to the temple again, recollected the previous day's actions. He went that, he rather felt that this was the will of the Lord, and to reveal the profound truth that he would accept anything as an offering, and that bhakti or the devotion is supreme. He threw a stone that day too. That was his daily form of worship, without which he would not even take any of his food. One day, when he was about to take his meal, he remembered that he has not done his usual puja. And unmindful of the hunger, he went to the temple and threw a stone with great devotion. The Lord appeared before him and blessed him and took him to Kailasha.